Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. This one's going to be a bit different. I'm not going to channel today, but I am still going to be asked some questions. I have no idea what questions they are, so this will be completely new for me and for you guys. Take it away.
Okay, so simple. Tell us about yourself.
About myself. Okay.
Bit of a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, my name's Jake. I'm 25. Um, grew up, born in the UK, grew up in the UK. Moved around a lot. I've moved around about uh, 12 times probably in my life. I've lived abroad. Um, uh, yeah, lots of different experiences, many different schools I've been to. Um, yeah, I like football, love music. Um, yeah, play video games. Not really good at any of them. um, yeah, that about sums it up, really, I suppose.
Okay, so can you tell us what the catalyst was to your spiritual journey?
Okay. Uh, I suppose the true catalyst would be I would have been, I think, around roughly 19, 20 years old. Um, I was involved with a bit of a rough crowd. I was smoking, doing drugs, and I won't go into exact details about what happened, but there was an incident that effectively led me to losing all my friends um, because of a mixture of poor decisions from me and from other people. And yeah, it caused people to lash out at me through social media, and I came very close to think, well, taking my own life. And but thankfully, I had the strength and wherewithal to, um, speak to my mum, and she took me to the hospital when I went and saw like a therapist. And at that time in life, I was I could consider myself an atheist back then. Any thought of any spirituality or religion or any concept of it being an after, I thought was ridiculous. And uh, frankly, I looked down on people, or maybe not look down. I just thought it was foolish, in the same way that uh, how to say, yeah, it was probably just best to say it. I just thought it was foolish, and it's not a real thing. Why would anyone pay any attention to it? I didn't understand it. Like, yeah, I grew up with my mum going to church and going to church as a young kid, and even then I was like, this doesn't make sense. Um, and my dad was very like anti-religious, and so I suppose there was that aspect of things. And yeah, so I saw this therapist, and I remember she said, why would you think like this? Why would you do this? Do you not think about, an afterlife or anything like that? And I remember that moment just being taken out of this sort of like depression and misery to almost like the why is she talking about this ridiculousness for? And it took me out of that moment. But yeah, that whole experience really is what set me off on this journey. And I didn't realize that until a good 2 or 3 years after that event. And I actually started looking into spirituality, and I sort of had an epiphany and went, oh, wow, that moment put me on to the train tracks on which I am today, and it's taken me to where I am now.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Um, so You'd say you'd experienced a lot of change in your life. Yeah, to
Yeah,
say the least.
yeah, just about.
So, how can we as individuals become more accepting of the small changes and the bigger changes?
um, well, one thing I'd say is like you constantly hear like, oh, people don't like change, and you know that's kind of ridiculous when you think about it, because life is all about change. You're constantly changing. I mean, show me someone who hasn't changed from the moment they're born to the moment they die. I mean, inevitably they have to. So it's not that, change is bad or anything. It's more, I think it's, change means, working through aspects of yourself, and that's not easy. Um, what was the first part of that question? Sorry. How to deal with.
Yeah, how to deal with accepting change.
Oh, how to deal with accepting it.
Mm.
Um, Ironically, I think we all just like intuitively accept it because we know we have to. It's not a case of accepting it or not. It's a case of it is inevitable. It's up to you whether to make it easy or not. It's up to you to face it. I mean, I've gone through many times where I've faced hurdles. Sometimes I've been like, oh, there's the hurdle, let me jump over it. And it felt a lot easier, a seamless change. Sometimes I didn't even realize I changed until I look back and go, oh, I don't even do that anymore. Other times I'd have a complete blow up in my life because of something I've ignored, either through just ignorance or genuine just not realizing. And it was a much harder adjustment, but all like worthwhile. So, in terms of making it easy, I would say everyone is brave enough to face what they need to face. You wouldn't be put through it if you couldn't handle it. Perspective, if you can change your perspective on it, um, that's a really powerful tool. um, Look at it as, some people play games and they level up in games, and because they see it as a challenge, it's not seen as daunting. I think if you can use that as a perspective in real life, that would be really beneficial.
Okay. How do you handle overwhelming or uncomfortable emotions?
Many times in my life, not very well. Through my upbringing and experiences, I've been someone who's internalized a lot of things. um, I've lashed out at people, um, put myself under unnecessary pressure. Ideas of like perfectionism and these sort of thoughts. Um, but something I've been doing recently is I've got a journal and I write it down, how I'm feeling. I talk to spirit or just to jot down what I'm feeling, and I often find when I start writing, um, it just naturally pours out, and yeah, I found that really helpful. Something I do is I write songs or poetry that can help as well. Um, what else do I do? Well, I mean, things like exercise, that can really help. I find that's really helpful, like stress and anger. It's a healthier way of expressing it than just letting it just like boil and bottle up inside you, because inevitably it's going to come flying out and it's going to explode. And then you're going to be, I mean, especially if you take it out on another person, you're going to be sat there feeling guilty and shameful and hurt, especially if it's someone you care about. um and that's a horrible thing to go through, and it's needless. You don't need to do it. You just need to find healthier ways of transmuting that energy, that emotion. Speaking about it to people who you trust and people who care about you, um, is another great way of doing it. And I mean, I know it's scary to do that if you've not had the grace of experience with people with trust, but the only way to get through it is to heal that aspect of you and to keep pushing through.
Okay, and can you tell me, a lot of the times people get confused with what truly is the intuition telling them to take a leap, and then what is their core beliefs telling them to stop, and they struggle to differentiate
Mm.
between them. So, can you explain how a person could maybe differentiate between them and understand the difference?
Okay, so from my experience, intuition is something that you have to cultivate, but it's always there. It's that like whispering in the back of your head. It's that voice that tells you not to go down that dark alley that you normally take, not to cut through the park for whatever reason this time. Just a like it's very much a sixth sense. Um, you encounter it all the time, every day. Sometimes you act on it, and maybe you go, oh, I don't know why I did that, or oh, why did this thought pop into my head? I mean, women will know about, like, the whole concept of women's intuition. Like that weird feeling you get when you're like, oh, like a partner's maybe doing something nefarious, and for some reason you can't explain, like alarm bells are going off in your head, or you know something just sort of like a niggling feeling you get where you're interacting with someone, you're like, oh, maybe this person's dodgy. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but there's just something in the back of my head that's saying it. Or maybe you find yourself driving and you don't know why, but a car ahead of you on the left, you just have a feeling they're going to pull out before they do, and so you're aware of that about to happen. That is what I would say your intuition is. How to cultivate that is to, I mean, my advice would be through meditation to help your awareness. But if you can become more aware and more astute at acting upon this intuition, because your intuition is there to guide you, it's to help you, um, connecting that aspect of yourself and bringing it to the forefront of your awareness, that is going to cultivate the relationship, and that voice is then going to get louder and louder. It's no longer going to be a whisper, it's going to be one of the it'll be like the loud voice in your head be like, oh, don't do this, or you should do this, or look into this aspect of yourself, or you need to do some shadow work because there's emotions you're not confronting. It takes time, but it's I mean, it all starts with the first step, as it does anything.
Okay. Um, Another thing is, you've you've meditated a lot,
Mm,
and it's helped you in your spiritual journey. So,
yes.
could you maybe share some challenges you faced with meditation?
I can tell you, the first time I started meditation, my ego was not a happy bunny about it. I remember I had to like almost force myself to like sit down, and I can remember just like the thoughts going through my head were like, why are you doing this? You look like a muppet. You're sitting down in the quiet, closing your eyes. This is sort of like hippie stuff. What are you doing? Um, but the more I persevered, the more it became easier. The more I noticed how I would almost see like thoughts fly through my head, and I could move away the bad ones, and I couldn't notice which ones kept recurring, and then I would be like, oh, why does that keep on coming into my sphere of influence? Maybe I need to look into that specific thing, because if it keeps knocking on the door, it's not going to go away. I need to open the door and look into it. But yeah, no, when I first started meditating, it wasn't easy. I had to act. I mean, it probably took 4 months, I'd say, until I maybe got the hang of it, and there was no more of the ego bit trying to prevent me. But I had to like force myself and sit myself down to actively do it. But nothing easy is worthwhile. So
Okay, thank you.
all good.
Um, so, is there anything you feel intuitively called to say to the viewers today?
Intuitively called. I mean, something I've been going through is learning to be kind to myself, to treat myself with the empathy that I tend to treat others with. Um, Throughout my life, I have been really hard on myself. I'd turn on myself, which is not a healthy thing to do. I mean, ultimately, you are with yourself your entire life. That's not the same for everyone else who you experience life with. People come and go. So if you can cultivate a relationship with yourself that is, that looks after you, that holds you when you need to be held, and make yourself laugh, and when times are tough, that you don't just start beating yourself up, because all you're going to do is make yourself feel really, really bad. But if you can cultivate a relationship with yourself where you can help hold your own hand through tough times, you're going to make your life exponentially easier, should I say. Yeah, that's probably a bit of advice I would give.
Thank you.
That's all right.
That's all for today.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you for tuning in, guys. It's a bit of a different one, new for me, new for you. I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.